Hi guys, it's Nathan from Headbangers. I'm doing the intro again, Turns out Brad thought I smashed it, so he's giving me approval to do another one. Hopefully, I don't ruin this one. Today, we've got Faye from the Metalheads podcast. So, yeah, that's going to be great. We talk about everything great about metal, about what she does in her personal life, her living in Denmark for one as well. Also about my hatred of pie. I fucking despise it as a dish, and it's better just to be forgotten. But yeah, this was a great episode to film. Me and Brad had a lot of fun doing it. Faye's lovely. So yeah, check out the interview now.
Headbangers. Welcome back to the Headbangers podcast, where your hosts Nathan and Brad. Here today, we're joined by Faye from the Metalheads podcast and This Day in the Metal. How are you doing, man?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. How are you?
We're good. So we want to start off with like a little icebreaker question. What's your funniest gig story that you've been to? Like, do you have one thing that sticks out to you out of all the gigs you've been to that was like, this is the pinnacle moment?
I mean, I have a stick out moment that's bad and one that's really, really cool. Which one would you prefer?
We'll take both.
Both. Cool. Right, I'll start with the bad one. I went to see, I can't even remember which band it was. And I was about 18 and I was in the mosh pit and someone just ripped my shirt off. It was in London and I lived in Suffolk. So that's quite a way to get home, right? Without a shirt. So I had to sit on the tube in the middle of the night and like bus and train all this shit with like someone ripped my shirt off. It was fucking freezing. Yeah. So that's
was that like at the gig or afterwards?
In the mosh pit.
Oh my god. So you had to just like watch the rest of the show. Broken shirt.
No shirt.
Holy shit.
So that was fun. But my best gig experience, I went to see the Golden Gods Metal Hammer Awards in London in 2000, or it must have been like 2015 or something. And I met Ozzy Osbourne and Tony Iommi backstage.
Fuck. That's crazy.
And Lemmy was there too, and he bought me a drink.
Ah, I've got Ozzy and Lemmy tattooed on my arm. What was he like?
Which one?
Both.
Ozzy, he didn't really say much. I guess he was like, he's kind of used to people being like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But Lemmy, I showed him a picture because I saw Lemmy and I was like, oh my god. My dad has met Lemmy as well, like back in the day. So I phoned my dad. I was like, please send me that picture of you and him so I can show him. So I have something to like break the ice with.
That's awesome. Oh my god.
Yeah,
how did you even get into like the Metal Hammer Awards? Like how does that come about? Because I can't imagine you can go on Ticketmaster to get it, right?
My friend, she entered a competition to win these VIP tickets. And she won them and she was like, Faye, I've won these tickets. I'm like, okay. Please take me with you. She's like, yeah, great. And then we went. I was 19, maybe. How old was I? Yeah, around there. And that included like backstage afterwards, and Corey Taylor was there, and who else was there? Yeah, Paradise Lost was there, Airborne were there. It was insane. It was really, really cool. So yeah, but he bought everyone drinks. But
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I had an argument with someone ages ago. Doesn't Tony Iommi have the tip of his finger missing? Like, yeah. Okay, I argued with this guy for at least an hour, and he was like bragging, going, "Oh, I know him. He doesn't have any fingers missing." I'm like, mate, it's fucking said everywhere that he's got tip of his fingers missing. He's like, no, I know him. He doesn't. So you've settled, because I was fuming about that, because I'm like, I definitely have heard that he's got the tip of his fingers missing. I've seen like pictures of his hands where you can see the tip missing. He was adamant that he'd never ever had them like cut off or had an accident or anything like that.
It's not the whole finger, it's like the tip of his finger, isn't it? I swear I've read loads of places it was like a work accident, and that's why he had to down tune his bass for some reason.
Yeah.
And that's basically...
I've heard that.
Well, that's what I said, and I won't get into it. Was some guy that worked for Lady, and like he was there like, no, I know him, trust me. I don't know whether he was just drunk and he was like, I'm just gonna annoy this guy, But like, I just stood there like, mate, I've read this a million times and I've heard it a million times that he has the tip. He's like, nope, I know him. I've met him many times. I've gone for drinks with him. He doesn't have the tip of his finger missing. And since then, it's always annoyed me in the back of my mind going, it's like, was I
Sounds like they didn't
dreaming
go
that?
to
Was I
drinks together.
imagining that?
I mean, to be fair, I wasn't staring at his hands, but yeah, I mean, I've seen pictures as well. I'm pretty sure he has got the tip of one of his fingers missing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's offered a bit of closure for me. On the sort of like the subject of gigs in general, out of all the bands that you've sort of seen, what would you say stands out as your favorite? Like favorite probably act to see in general?
Oh, recently I saw Emperor in London. That was pretty epic.
Oh yeah.
And I'd say either Emperor or Slayer. They were my
Both amazing.
Absolutely.
I think I was reading on Twitter actually because you met up with Bangers and Mosh as well, didn't you? And you all like sort of went.
I did. It was Incineration Fest. So we went to see Hell River and we went to see Emperor together. And because they're all a bunch of old bastards, we sat up in like the upper ring at the Roundhouse in London. So yeah, but it was a great, that was an amazing concert.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Was that your first time meeting?
Bangers guys. Yeah, first time in real life.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
They're lovely guys.
Yeah, I got to see Slayer when they were doing their farewell tour, and that was like probably one of the best shows I've seen.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Emperor because the one year that they actually played like Damnation, I can't remember what I was doing, but I think I was just like, oh no, I'm not gonna go to Damnation. And then COVID hit, and I was like, fuck, I should have gone. But it was like I'm kind of upset that I missed my chance to see Emperor then. Was Emperor Rebellion? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure it was because we were talking about it. But yeah, I've always wanted to see him, to be fair.
Yeah, just the atmosphere was amazing, and everyone was just like, a lot of gigs can be quite rowdy, but everyone was just silent, like just watching them and just like absorbing it and like just like in awe of them. It was really, really cool.
I always felt it's a different experience, like seeing death metal and black metal. Like you just obviously with death metal, you want to rage, you want to have a good time, you want to party, and then like black metal is sort of like you're just in awe of the sounds and the atmosphere that they create. And obviously Emperor, the Gertz man. So
absolutely.
Oh yeah. It's like I've noticed since coming back from COVID, like shows are a bit. It's funny that you mentioned like shows being a bit more rowdy, but I've noticed since coming back from COVID, shows are way more like almost intimidating sometimes. I think.
Yeah.
I think it's because of all these like freshly 18-year-olds that have like just come out of their houses for like the first time in 3 years and been like, yeah, you know what, and then just didn't have like a mate to go with or like that, and they just for some reason take everything as like an aggression. So yeah, I've been seeing a weird trend of that. It's like Architects. It was just like loads, like quite a few knobheads in the crowd that kind of ruined it for me at some point. So I was like just getting annoyed at people.
Yeah, I saw Gojira recently and Alien Weaponry here in Copenhagen, and there was just, I would say 95% of people were just having a great time, and there was just this bunch of like you said, like 18, 19-year-olds just pissing about, and I'm too old for that shit. And I was just like, I was just like, I'm a teacher and a mum, so my mum brain turned on, and I was like, oi, would you mind like fucking off somewhere else? Because I'm actually trying to like enjoy this, and you've just spilled beer all over me, you cunt. Would you please? Sorry, I said the C word.
It's okay. You can swear on the show.
There's no rules here.
That's good, because like I'm with kids all the time, so when I say cunt, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So yeah, I told them off. I went like full mum on them, and I was like, would you please move along?
Did they like stand in line after that? They were like, okay, yeah, that's it. We'll stop.
They sort of just went, oh, shut up. And my boyfriend looked and went, and they were like, oh, all right. Sorry, mate. Yep. Like, oh, old people, so boring. I was like, yeah, we are.
These kids, man.
Yeah, no, I think that's why because recently I always go to more local shows than I am going to like really big shows. And I even said it to Brad when we went to see Architects, and I was like, I really like all these stadium shows. The spectacle's great, but people really fuck me off. So I really prefer local shows more than anything, because it's like if there's 30 people in a room, it's like I just like it more than that, because like chances are I know all those 30 people. There's not like 50,000 people crammed into like this one little area. Like it's just so much better. I've always since I started going, I always enjoy them way more.
Yeah, I think there's something about it. It's just more intimate. It just feels a bit more like you're with family in some way.
Yeah.
Do you guys know the band Mul?
Mo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mo.
Yeah.
Love Mo.
Yeah. Went to see them in March. They're Danish, so they played here in Copenhagen, and it wasn't a concert, it was this really cool setup where they were like a live art exhibition in a music museum.
Oh, so cool.
It was, and there was about 60 people there.
We spoke to Kim. We spoke to Kim, and he was like one of the coolest people we had on. He just got so many interesting stories to tell, and he's just down to earth. And we were meant to see Mole. Nathan got me a birthday ticket to go see them, and then they cancelled the UK. So I was like, no.
Oh, they're coming back now though.
Are they?
Yeah, it looks like they're gonna do another tour. I think they've got
British tour dates on their Instagram.
Oh, nice! I'm gonna check it out and see if I can get Brad that.
Because I was side stage. I was literally standing on their cables for all their amps. That's how close I was. Like the pictures in the films I got is insane. And he came right up to me and started singing, and I was like, "Oh my god, I love you!" It was amazing.
We messaged them about like I can't remember what we messaged them about, but they were doing a festival down south, and like me and Brad looked at it, and it's like just getting there would have been like practically impossible because neither of us drive. So we're like, oh shit, we really want to see him, but there's no chance we're going to be able to get down there. So he was really gutted about that.
Yeah, where are you guys based?
Leeds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that is a long way.
Yeah, it was like it was. I think it was just. How I based down south is it before London or a little bit after? It was just before London, so I was there like I was like, that's just too far. And it was like the only way you could get there was driving. There weren't any like trains or like buses. So I was like, yeah, we're gonna have to take the L on that one. We're just gonna have to deal with not seeing him, sadly.
When we're done here, I will DM you the videos I got from the concert I saw of them.
You met Kim, didn't you? Because I think I remember seeing your picture on Twitter. Did you meet Kim?
I took a selfie of him. I've also interviewed him. He was great. But yeah, I met him. I ambushed him at the merch table and was like, "Can I have a selfie?" So yeah, he was lovely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I want to get into obviously I know that you work for This Day in Metal, and one thing that's always like fascinated me, or just like how people have process with like reviewing albums, because me and Nathan, like we want to tread the line when we've done reviews in the past between like being positive about an album, but also if there's something that is negative, then we have to mention it and have to do it constructively. Like when you do that, how do you work with like an album that you've got to review that you're not particularly fond of? Like how do you go about doing that? What's your process?
I'm quite lucky the fact that my boss at This Day in Metal, Marv, lovely Canadian guy, he just says to us, pick something you like, and then he doesn't give us stuff to review. Sometimes he'll suggest like people for us to interview. He'll be like, hey guys, who wants to interview this person? And we'll say, oh, I do. But with the reviews, he's more like, just do what you love, because none of us, me and my other colleagues at This Day in Metal, we don't want to be like slamming people's work, because just because I don't like it doesn't mean it's bad. And in the end of the day, it's just my opinion, right? It's not, it's not that important in the grand scheme of things. So we're very lucky that I just pick stuff that I really like most of the time.
Okay.
And if I'm ever critical, it's in a very constructive way, and it's not in like a negative way. It's in more of like I maybe would have preferred this, but it sounded great because they also did. I try and I don't want to shit on people's work because they work really hard for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm just too nice. I would have such a bad like conscience if I did that.
How did you get into working for them then? Did they approach you? Have you like done like journalism in the past, or is it like you just sort of just came together naturally?
Well, I'm an English teacher. I've always loved writing. You know,
Of
I'm
course,
good at
yeah.
it. I'm just like one of those people that picks on people's grammar. Unfortunately, I was like, I might as well do it as a hobby, right? And then metal has been the ongoing love of my entire life. So I thought if I could combine the two, and then I met CJ, who also works for This Day Metal, and I was like, oh, could you ask your boss if they want any more writers? And he was like, yeah, we always need more people like to do content, so just write to him. And then that was it, really.
That's super cool.
Yeah, and then my first ever interview I got given was Jeff Becerra from Possessed. My first ever interview.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. I was like, shit.
It's a big start.
It was.
Yeah,
Was it
I
daunting
remember-
doing your first interview?
Pardon, what did you say?
Was it like daunting doing your first interview?
Yeah, because I'd never really used Zoom before, and I'd never really edited audio or anything before, so I had to learn like all this stuff sort of pretty quickly. But he was the nicest guy. Like, I love Possessed, and death metal is my thing. And I was like, oh my god, this legend of death metal, and he's going to be speaking to some fucking incompetent idiot like me. Like, oh, so I was a bit stressed, but he was super nice. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember when we first started like interviews, like when we started out, the first like 2 bands we interviewed were like just people we were friendly with anyway, so we didn't really get nerves. It's when we started going outside of that. So like first one I got where I had nerves was Ingested. When we got Sean on from Ingested, like I had like a really stressful day at work. It was just when COVID had kicked off, and like I literally managed to get home like 2 minutes before that interview was meant to start. Got ready and like joined in, and Brad was like, "Oh, how are you feeling?" I'm like, "I'm shitting my pants." I was like, "I'm genuinely so nervous." And he was there like, "He's on now," so you let him in, and I was like, I just had to like compose myself like within like half a second. And the only one I think where it got to me in nerves was when I interviewed Cytotoxin, because they were a band that I was really, really like a massive fan of. And I remember after Brad went, "You didn't really talk much, did you?" I was like, I was just kind of sat there and like silently,
love you guys.
yeah, like Brad kind of carried that interview, because I was just getting kind of like not starstruck, but it was kind of like, I was like, oh, I'm such a massive fan, and like I've always like thought, oh, I wish I could interview them. And then now they're here, and I don't know what to fucking do.
To be fair to you, like that was it's quite an intimidating one, because there was like 3 of them. Like I feel like when it's one of them and there's 2 of us, it's sort of a bit less intimidating. But like because it was 3 and it was like our 7th podcast and we were both big fans of them, it was just like tenfold. But it turned out pretty well, I think.
Oh yeah. It was like my biggest regret was not doing the guitar lessons with the guitarist, because I was talking about how I was learning guitar at the time, and he was like trying to teach me pentatonic scale and that, and I was like, my guitar's right there, but I don't want to like interrupt the interview and like go on a massive tangent. But I was like, in hindsight, I should have just done it, because that would have been a great bit of content. But yeah, that was the only one I feel like I got really like so nervous it like almost encumbered me interviewing someone.
Yeah. Oh, I can understand that though. Yeah, absolutely. Like I try not to fangirl all the time, and I really have to because my interview style, it's very relaxed. I don't have a script. I have a list of questions, and then I just sort of try and get through them in a random order. But yeah, there are times when I have to be like, okay, like breathe. Hey. Like I interviewed Dave from Revocation a couple of weeks ago, and I was like,
oh, hell yeah.
Lovely guy, but still he was pretty intense. And he was nice, but it was like, wow. And I do like a drummers mini series, because I'm a drummer, and all the drummers I've interviewed. I interviewed Jeff from Allegiant, and I interviewed AJ from Hath, and Andy Whale, Bolt Thrower, Memoriam. So they're the ones that really get to me, because I'm just like a drumming nerd. So when I interview them, I'm just like be normal, Faye. Just be normal.
Yes, it's really hard, because you like for a second you just forget like you've got to do the interview. Like, and this is not
Absolutely.
like a meet and greet moment, but still, I mean, I think it's okay. But yeah, it's been very hard to restrain that sometimes, especially with me, because I'm like a massive fangirl sort of fan of some bands. So
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I try to get them on as many tangents as possible now. He's like, all right, find something that they like, and then just try to stick on that subject and just get them
you are the
outside
tangent
their
master,
comfort
to be
zone.
fair.
I know I am. Like when we interviewed I can't remember the name now. That's gonna look well bad. But we managed to get on like we picked up that he liked horror. I was like, right, go with it. And we went on a massive tangent about horror. We spoke about horror films and everything like that. Way more Wake. It was Wake. We interviewed Wake.
Yeah.
And we spoke about like horror films way more than we did about the actual album that was coming out. And I thought that made for a very, very good interview. So yeah.
I think it's a good idea because like they must get bored of answering, like especially if they've got an album coming out and they know everyone's going to be asking like the same questions. Like
How's it all going so far?
Yeah, like I'm guilty of that sometimes because you have to get that balance of like asking questions people want to hear, but also trying to get them to like you say, think out of the box a little bit and talk about something that's maybe they haven't been asked like 100 times.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think that's like kind of like what me and Brad always like aimed for when like initially when starting the podcast. Because like we looked at like a lot of the like traditional like metal media in a way, and it was like a lot of it, especially when you watch it on YouTube, you could watch the same like content 5 times, but from different publishers. Like in terms of like questions, because it'd all be about okay, well the new release is this, so we'll only ask him about this. But I think like when you're a fan of the band, I think the music is a factor. But I think nowadays a lot of people more gravitate to that person behind it. And if they can relate to them, and like if you don't ask them any personal questions or try to get a feel for them as a person, I think you've done the person you're interviewing kind of a discredit, because like they're really they're you know from interviewing they're a really nice person, and like if you manage to show that, then you know like that's what makes the best interviews. I think that's why podcast is ideal for it, because you've got like an hour to sit with them and not just 10 minutes and be like, okay, bye. And it's like you can really dig deep into a lot of subjects.
Yeah, exactly. Like I like asking the simple questions like what hobbies do they have, because that can tell you a lot about a person, you know. And I say, apart from playing instruments or being a musician, what hobbies do you have? And they come up with the coolest, weirdest shit sometimes, but it gives you sort of a little insight into like who they are, like the person behind the band. And I think that's also part of interviewing them.
Oh yeah, we had
Absolutely.
we had a band called Unearnment. It's like a one-man band from I believe Canada. And we asked him, what's your hobby? And he goes, oh, cocktails. I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah,
cocktails.
Yeah,
this is awesome.
And we went on a massive tangent about what our favorite cocktails was. And Brad managed to bust out his favorite question that doesn't always go down well was, if your band was a cocktail, what cocktail would it be? It was like, this is the perfect time to fucking ask this. So
that's a great question.
It's got it's either like it goes really well, or it goes like really badly. Like, you know,
do they look at you like, what the fuck?
We had one where someone said a rum and coke, and I'm just like, come on, Cuba Libre's not really a proper cocktail, is it? It's rum and coke.
No, if I went to a cocktail bar and they made me that, I'd be like, nah.
Send it back.
Yeah, it's
not acceptable.
Well, I read it and I was like, Brad, that's a great question. I reckon that's going to get us on some right. And like we got the answer, and I was like, asked him like, maybe feel the room a little bit before we ask that. It's like, so it's just one of those, it either does really well or just a really shit question where it's like, okay, moving on.
But it's a great question also for individual people as well.
Oh yeah, it's
a good question.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. It's just sometimes we found it's like, nah, never mind. It wasn't the best time to ask that. So yeah, it's a hit or a miss.
I love the thought of some like big scary black metal dude being like, I'm a strawberry daiquiri.
Well, Unearnment had
we're still waiting for that.
He had like a similar sort of answer. I think he said that he's like, he mixed like really brutal death metal. And I'd recommend checking it out. It's really good, and considering it was one person that wrote that, it's unbelievable. But he like, I think it would be a zombie. And I was there like, oh, that's a really interesting choice. Because it's got a bit of everything in there, and he like proper describing why it would be a zombie.
Oh, bless
It was
you.
like it was such a good like answer. We were like, okay, that was like the best time to answer like ask that.
Awesome.
So yeah, that was really fun. I wanted to ask you like what sort of made you want to start your podcast then? Like what made that sort of pop into your head?
Well, I mean, I did some research and I was like, oh, there's just so many metal podcasts, like, and they're all great. And I thought, what can I do that's different and unique in some way? And I think, well, probably nothing, but I can do what I have experience in. I have a background in psychology, and I love metal, and there's a great little Twitter community around metal. And I thought, if I can combine those three things, and then we can just sort of have a laugh and like, I'm not doing it for like fame or fortune or anything. It's like a little hobby that I do. But I think that metal music can be applied to so many psychological theories because, like in my first episode, I discussed like the idea of catharsis, and that metal music is like, it's just a release for people, people who for some reason can't express their anger or their sadness or depression in a like an outward way. They have that metal music to fall back on. And it just made me think about how amazing metal is for everyone, to be honest. And you don't really get that with other genres, like that passion and that like the soul that metal music has and metalheads have as a community. You don't get that in many other musical genres, and I really wanted to like explore why that isn't.
Yeah, so kind of wanted to go into that actually, because I know that that's the theme of the podcast. So what album would you say like psychologically hit you the most? Like, that you still sometimes think about that was like, there's like life-changing albums that it just makes you feel like such a, either, if it's euphoria, it makes you feel sadness, but sometimes, there is some great albums that can evoke these sort of emotions. So like, what was that one for you?
L'Enfant Sauvage by Gojira.
Hell yeah.
It's a really good choice.
I first heard that album when I was going through a pretty rough time in my life, and it took me from sadness to happiness. And whenever I listen to that, I still get that sort of end happiness feeling rather than being taken back to like the sad stuff at the beginning. So that's like my comfort blanket album.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah. It's like I think Mo was one for that did that.
I was
to me.
just about to say that because me and Nathan were both like going crazy over that album.
Because we got like early access from Nuclear Blast for it, and we were like, oh, this is the first time we've ever been given like early access. So we like listened to it, and like I was like, Brad was away at the time. I was like, have you listened to the Mo album yet? He was like, yeah. I'm like, no. He was like, no, I haven't. I was like, drop what you're doing and fucking listen to it now. And like, because I listened to it and I like, we're gonna do a review, but we were just too busy, so we just didn't record it. But I wrote like a full review on it as I was like sort of listening to each track.
Dude, we did do a review. It's on YouTube.
Is it?
Yeah, we did a track.
Okay, I'm forgetting what we've been doing. Well, I forget what we've done that many of these, Brad, that I just forget sometimes.
You're busy. It's all right.
Yeah, we've done almost actually over 100 episodes alone of just like the podcast. So it's just like now it just kind of blurs into one. But
and we're still no more professional than when we started.
Yeah, still haven't learned anything. But we like I listened to it and it was just like it made me cry. It made me happy. Like loads of like really interesting things, and the emotion through it. And from talking to Kim about it. Like was 100% felt as if as he wrote it. Like I remember I spoke to him and I was like, oh, one way I described it was like beauty in darkness.
Yeah.
And he was like, that's exactly like how I wanted people to feel when they listen to it. And I was like, I figured it out. But it was like it was just such a like a visceral album that was just so like nothing like I've heard before. And it was like it's affected me since. I was like, this is amazing.
It was my album of the year last year, and then that's when I got to see those songs live, like that's probably my most emotional concert experience was seeing them because like you said, those songs, like you cry and you're happy and then you cry and you're like, oh my god, that's beautiful, and it's emotional. It's just a roller coaster album, right? And seeing them live and just like feeling it was amazing. It was really
it's honestly it's a very big comforting album for me, and I think it's nice to like I have that balance. If I ever feel in a shitty mood, I'll always stick on Diorama, and I'm just like, yeah, that's put me in a better mood now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah, I think another song that does that for me, and this is going to be really embarrassing, and I might regret talking about it on the podcast, is Over the Rainbow.
Yeah.
That makes me cry, regardless of like what situation. If I listen to it, it just makes me cry. I've got no emotional attachment to it or anything like that, but it pops on, I'll fucking beef. I don't know why. It's just like it's like a cheap.
Can't imagine this.
No, it's genuinely.
I kind of
like
want to put it to the test.
No,
play it.
No matter what, it's if I'm listening to it, I'll just cry. I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing this.
I've never
just
told
like
this before.
Because that's the reason, Brad. Because I know for a fact every time I come down to you, it's all I hear is somewhere. It's just he's fucking got me, Annie. He wants to see the tears.
You've given him ammunition now.
Oh yeah, I'll figure out his though. I'll just like start playing sad songs and be like, that's the one.
Yeah.
But yeah, for some reason, whenever I listen to it, it just makes me emotional. I don't know why.
It is an emotional song.
Oh yeah.
And then when you think about like that she died quite tragically, it's kind of sad.
Oh yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like I got no, like I don't. It won't from what it won't play at any funeral I've been to or anything like that. So it's like, I don't know why that gets me that way.
Power of music, and that.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like I was like, oh, that's surprising. Something I've learned about myself.
Yeah, something I've learned as well.
And everyone watching this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, they already know
sending the song now.
Well, they already know I had a panic attack to Freebird by like Leonard Skinner.
That was a funny story.
That was a funny story, but it was also like traumatic to bring back up. I just like I'd smoke. I sometimes I do smoke weed, and like I smoked too much, and I thought, I'll listen to Leonard Skinner while I'm stoned. That sounds like a great idea. Neglecting the fact that it's like 6 minutes of just a pure build up, and like when you're high, you really think about it. It's then like this is actually anxiety inducing, and like I'll fall on like like freaking out. I don't know why. It just made me overthink it, and it was like two in the morning, and like I was just laid on my bed like hyperventilating. I was like, what is my life?
You might be the first person to have a panic attack to Leonard Skinner.
You know what? I might just throw the question out and just be like, who's had a panic attack to Leonard Skinner and skidded Freebird whilst high? There's got to be like one other guy out there that's like, yep, I understand. Yep, that got me too.
I'm sorry for laughing, but the images in my head are really
funny. It's funny.
No, I do find it funny because when I woke up in the morning, I was like, that's the funniest fucking thing that I've ever done, and I might upset that no one witnessed it. But it was just like, I don't know, I just overthought it. And then like that route, I was like, and it just made me go into like a deep pit. And I was like, shit. And it's like, yeah, I don't know why. It just like for some reason triggered it. I was like, this is weird. So I'm avoiding that song forever now. It's ruined it for me. Like that scene in Kingsman. I don't blame you. Yeah, that scene in Kingsman isn't that great anymore. It just reminds me of a bad time. What would you say has been like your favorite sort of metal release of this year so far? Because we are knocking on a bit into the year now.
I can tell you, I will answer that question. But my album of the year list, I normally do a top 20. My current top 20, there are 62 albums on it. So I'm shitting my pants because I've got an album of the year episode for my podcast, and I've got a very cool guest coming.
We won't spoil it on air them.
Pardon?
We won't spoil it on here then.
No, but if people follow me on Twitter, it's kind of obvious what my album of the year is going to be. Nothing's beaten it yet. I wang on about it constantly. So yeah, but it's Elysian Downham.
Oh, fantastic album.
I found it really hard because like we normally like keep a track of them for like when we do like the metal award shows. but I found it really hard because for some reason, all I can listen to at the moment is the album God's Hate by God's Hate. It's been like that since the beginning of the year, since last year. And I'm like, there's nothing that's better than this album in my eyes. This is perfection. This is all I want to listen to forever.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so good. And I was like, every time it plays, I never get sick of it. So like with new releases, I'm just like listening to them. I'm like, it's great, but I just really, if I could put God's Hate by God's Hate on my like albums of the year, I'd do it forever. Because like this, no, I was like, to me, nothing's topping that from like a hardcore band or anything like that. Because he's like, that is try your best. It's not good. The bar's being set. There's no one hitting that. So it's just it's been so hard to like nail, like be like, okay, this new release is great because I just keep gravitating to the same old one.
Yeah, I have a bit of the same problem, but I just get them like thrown at me in my inbox. And, oh shit, I better listen to some of them. But this year has been amazing for Tech Death. I love Tech Death, and there's several Tech Death albums on my album of the year list.
Yeah, there's been a lot this year, to be honest, to unpack. It's going to be really hard to do a list. But I do I can probably say what it is because it might change by the time we do our list. But it has to be the new Zeonada album, like that proper off, in my opinion. Yeah. I loved it. It's like so interesting, and they always like push the bar, I think. But there's been loads of good ones as well. It's hard.
This year's been insane.
Yeah.
And next Friday is going to be insane. And then probably next Friday after that, it's relentless.
Yeah. And just had Renew Revocation as well, which is honestly incredible. Like, masterclass. I'm seeing their tour in January. I'm so excited. Yeah, I'm going to go to that.
Yeah, hopefully I can make it because Brad knows I'm notoriously shit at making it to shows. It's even like it's one of those. I'm like, you ask me, I'm like, skin, give me a week. I'm like, well, I bought tickets to this instead. I'm sorry, and I'm just notoriously bad at it. It's like, I'll try to go out. Getting me out of my house is just a very, very difficult task. So. Yeah, Incineration Fest next year. You guys should come.
Yeah,
is that down in London or
in Camden? It was where I went with Bangers in May. Yeah, it's in Camden, and they just sort of do like a few venues there, and like we go around and see different bands and stuff. It was really good.
Yeah, it'd be cool to like meet you all as well. Obviously, we all interact on Twitter. It's got a pretty cool community, but it'd be nice to meet you all in person and just hang out. So we'll try and make it happen.
I haven't been to London since 2017, and that was my first time and only time. So
spoken like a true northerner. That's amazing.
It was, it was just so expensive getting down there. I took the train naively, and I'm like, about 30 quid on the train. I was like, fuck it, 200 quid. And like by that time, it was already too late to like do any other like fucking like travel. Yeah. I worked out it's easier to fly from Leeds and Bradford to Krakow and then from Krakow to London and cheaper than it is to get the fucking train down from Leeds. It's like I might as well. I could just do that. Like it costs like 8 quid or some shit like that to go to Krakow and then like 30 coming back from Krakow to London. It's like
that's
38
insane.
quid. Yeah. Whereas like if you go on, sorry.
No, I remember that weekend I was there for Incineration. I literally booked the flights, the return, and my return flights, London to Copenhagen, that was cheaper than my ticket for Incineration and the like train ticket.
Oh,
it's insane.
Yeah, no, because I wanted to go down to London quite a few times. Like when Blood Incantation played there. One of my mates, James, was like, "Oh, do you want to go see him?" I'm like, "Yeah, we'll get train." And then we looked at how much train, so I'm like,
"Fuck that, yeah,
You always get Megabus, but it's Megabus, isn't it?
Yeah, but like Megabus is like a 5-hour drive on a fucking bus. It's like worse enough being on a bus for like 30 minutes at most. 5 fucking hours is like slow torture. Like I won't wish that on my worst enemy. Like, why would you want to be on a bus for 5 fucking hours? Like, it's like
it would have to be like some sort of life or death situation.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
I could honest. I get bus 45 minutes every day to work there and back, and that kills me off. Like immediately, I'm sick of the day, and I don't want to do it again. 5 hours would drive me slowly insane. Like by the time I got to London, I'd be feral. Like I just wouldn't want to talk to anyone or anything like that. It's just that's just too long to be on a bus. If I'm gonna go down to London, I reckon I'm just gonna get a flight. Like
Mega
it's
bus would
gotten
be
to
like one of the rings of hell. It's awful.
No, I think if I'm going to go down to like London and anything like, I'm literally just going to get a flight and just fly from Leeds and Bradford to London because it's so much cheaper. It's ridiculous that I can get into like a pressurized tube, like thousands of feet in the air, and fly to London, whereas like a tube that goes on the ground is more expensive. It just makes no fucking sense.
It doesn't.
But yeah, it's not fun. What would you say like? With like keeping up with new releases, because I always struggle. I always struggle to keep up on new releases in general. Like I've said before, I kind of gravitate to the same old stuff. How do you keep it fresh, and how do you always find like these new releases? Because on your Twitter, you are very, very up to date on everything that's coming out. So I just want to know like how do you have a system for it or anything like that?
I literally I get a lot of stuff sent to I have a This Day Metal work email, and I'm just signed up to every single metal record label, their mailing list. So I get all their promos, and I maybe filter them by the words death metal, and then they they float to the top. They're the ones I listen to first, and then obviously tech death and stuff. But I have a list. You can go on Encyclopedia Metallum, and they've got a running list of what's coming up for the whole year. So I at the beginning of the year, I'll make a list of like what I'm interested in and like the dates, and I just write them in my calendar.
That's cool.
And I just make sure that Friday or whenever it is, I listen to it while I'm at work. If I'm sitting at my desk doing paperwork, I've always got my headphones in. So yeah, that's how I do it.
That's the best thing. Yeah, when I work from home like 2 days a week. So like when I'm going to the office, like I don't get to listen to as much. And then as soon as it turns to like Thursday, I'll have all the vinyls on. I'll just like listen to all the things that I've missed, and it's nice. But yeah, it's sometimes it's quite hard to get at them all and listen to them all and then form an opinion on them. But I think it's got to like find the time. But if you love the albums, you're like, right, okay, I'll make time for this.
Exactly. Like there's always time somewhere. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, like most recent one I listened to was the Machine Head one, and because Brad, it took some convincing because like I'm not a massive fan of like the most recent stuff they release. So I was like, I don't know, I feel like I'm tired on Machine Head. I feel like they've gone into a direction that's just not for me. It's okay, like other people enjoy it, and you're like, no, all Machine Head's Mac. And I was like, saw on their album 10-minute song start off. I was like, So yeah, that was like the most recent like sort of like album I did listen to that I enjoyed.
Yeah, I listened to it. I'm not a Machine Head fan. I would not call myself a Machine Head fan, but I thought, well, I'll listen to it because they've worked hard on it. Why not? They're popular for a reason. It was very hit and miss for me personally.
Yeah,
but
there's some songs on there that I was like, but
yeah, some of the songs I was like, oh, this is cool, and others I was like, this isn't really saying anything to my brain. But a lot of people liked it, so that's fair enough.
I think like the new Suicide Style and stuff that is being released is pretty good as well, because I used to be a really big fan of them, and like they kind of fell off for me, and like now they've kind of brought back that old sound, and I was there like, because both the tracks that they released recently, I was there like, this is fucking amazing. I was like, this is exactly what I've wanted them to do for years, and like now I'm so hyped for this new album they've got coming up, because it's like, it's good. I feel like I've got a good feeling about it.
When is it coming out? I can't remember.
I'm not too sure. I just normally wait until Spotify like kind of goes, oh yeah, new album's out. I'm like, okay, there we go. But yeah, I'm not too sure when it's coming out, but they must be raring up for it because they've released 2 new tracks and both of them are hard as like nails. So hopefully like the rest of the album follows suit, really.
You guys should just sign up to the record labels promo list. It's free. You can just do it on their websites, and then you'll get all the like PR. You'll get a promo with the album like 6 weeks before it comes out.
Oh yeah, well, me and Brad are, but we are notoriously shit for checking the email.
Yeah.
So like Brad's like, can you go through the email to see what and just see what they're sending over to us to see what bands we can interview. I was like, yeah. And then 5 minutes, I'm like, what's TikTok doing? It's like, so like I'll end up being on TikTok for like 2 hours, and Brad like, did you check? I'm like, I checked. I read 2 emails.
Nathan, we could listen to this Bloodbath album like 6 months ago. Now it's coming out. We've missed our chance.
We've got like the Nuclear Blast like logins for like early access, and like I logged into it the other day, and I've not logged into it for months. So I was like, oh, Brad, did you know we had early access to this, and this, and this? And he was there like, did we? I'm like, yep. It was all in that thing we forget to fucking log into every month. So we're really shit with like outside. We look like we're okay with organization. Inside, it's a fucking mess.
Yeah.
You need like some kind of. You need an intern to do all that shit for you.
Yeah, well, we both work full time, so like by the time we get home, we just kind of just shut down. It's like, okay, and like occasionally we might message each other going, "Oh, what we're doing for the podcast this week?" It's like, this. It's like, okay, and it's like we've got our own little routine for it. We're trying to get better for it, but it's like there's over thousands of emails now, so it's like there's so much to just go through.
We'll get better. Important than New Year's resolution. Yeah,
that's just to be a bit more organized with it.
I know the feeling. I work full time too, and I've got 2 kids as well. And then I sit down, and my kids are in bed. I'm like, do I want to sit and go through all these emails? Not really, but I kind of have to. So yeah, I get it. I do.
Yeah, no, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I want to ask, obviously, so you're from the UK and now you live in Denmark. Like, when was that like transition? Like, when did you move over? And like, what was like the biggest sort of cultural shift, I suppose, when you moved over there? Was like anything like, oh, this is different to UK sort of thing?
So I moved here in 2014. Biggest, I mean, apart from the language, which is fucking insane and very difficult to learn. The biggest cultural thing, people are they're friendly, but they're very like, they'll give you this very Scandinavian thing of like, if you ask them a question, they'll be like, yes, or no. That's it.
Straight to the
point. And it's getting blood out of a stone sometimes. Like, and it's not because they're being rude or they're being cold. They're just trying to like, that's my answer. There you go. They're like, whereas English people, we can fucking waffle on for hours about something, you know, with a proper little chin wag. But Scandinavian people, they're not like that. And when you first move here and you're not used to it, you just think, oh, do they hate me because I'm like not Danish? You know, you get that kind of like sorry for existing kind of feeling, but you get used to it eventually. But that was my first culture shock, really.
Yeah, well, I've had a similar thing when I went to Krakow, because my girlfriend, like, she's from Krakow, she lives in the UK, but like we sometimes go back to visit her family, and like, you know, we always, so that's always the funniest thing to her, is just how like, you know, people from UK are just so like open, and like they'll have random conversation on the street. It's like, yeah, that would not happen in Krakow. Like, everyone just looks like they've got resting bitch face on like constantly. Like, but then they actually are really nice when you speak to them, but like they're just like quite reserved, and so everyone just looks like they hate you, but they don't. It's funny. Exactly.
It's the same. Yeah, it's the same kind of thing here. Yeah. And also the food here.
Not good?
Pretty hit and miss. Some of it, I love it. A lot of it is like fermented fish and like boiled meat.
Maybe not.
Not great.
I mean, to be fair, like tier list, British food isn't the best in my opinion. Like fish and chips, over fucking rated. I don't get why we put it on this pedestal, but it's like we've literally just battered fish.
Careful,
no, I can't do it. I'm more of a sausage and chips. No, I'm more of a sausage and chips fan. I even at the seaside, I'm like, no fish and chips. I think it's because like every now, like when I was a kid, my mum and dad would get like fish and chips like almost every like other week, you know, like as a treat, and it's like that treat then becomes scheduled, and then that scheduled meal gets boring. So it's like, you know what? Don't like it anymore. I'm more of a sausage and chip, like battered sausage and chips guy. But I think like British food isn't nearly like tier list. Every like, most countries have got like some really sausage rolls. Pie. Fucking hate pie. Like, honestly,
who the fuck hates pie?
It's the fucking pastry. The filling's great.
You're northern. You can't
No,
He's not
hate
northern
pie.
anymore.
I fucking hate pie. I hate pie. Honestly, because you know
Wow.
what? It's like I feel like maybe I ain't had a good one, but then again, I say that I've given it a fucking go, and it's each time I'm there like the pastry's just too much. It's just too fucking crunchy. It's like if they just if they just gave me the filling on a plate, yeah, great. I'd love that. But
But
it's just
isn't that just
That's
stew?
not pie anymore.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's just
exactly.
stew.
But that's why I just hate I hate it. It's like I remember when me and my girlfriend first started seeing each other.
That's
We were
amazing.
like, do you want to go to this like restaurant? It's called Pie Minister. I really want to try it. And I was like, fuck. Yeah, we'll go. And like I had to fucking force that fucking pie down. I was there like
That's a red
proper
flag,
like,
Myth. I'm surprised she's still with you, to be honest.
mate. I was like, yeah, we'll go. The only good part about it was the dessert. I didn't fucking eat all that pie. I was like, nope. It was just I hate it.
So is it
Honestly.
the pastry that you don't like?
Yeah, pastry. It's
Yeah.
just like it's too dry. It ruins the fucking. You could slather it in gravy, but then you just kind of you just taste fucking gravy all the time because it absorbs it, and it's just like it's an annoying meal. Like honestly, I just don't like it.
That's amazing. I'm trying to think if I had like loathe the kind of food as much as you hate pies.
No, I've gave it a lot of thought because each time I say I don't like pie, because I live up north, everyone's like, you don't like pie. It's like as if I've just like spoken like unspeakable words, and they're like, how can you not like that? There's steak and ale, there's this, there's that. And it's like, yeah, all of them, fuck them. Like,
Welcome
I've
to
given them a
my
go.
world. I'm glad that you're getting grilled for once because obviously I don't like cheese and I get grilled for that.
Yeah, but no,
since I was young.
Brad. No, if you didn't like cheese, that'd be a different thing. But it's the fact that you order cheeseless pizza, and when it comes with cheese, you kick off and being like, I can't believe they put cheese on the pizza. It's the main fucking ingredient of the pizza.
Have you heard of
Like it's the
bruschetta?
main that of everything in that pizza. That is the main thing that they put in there. So of course they'll put it on. So they didn't read the notes. Yeah, because when you make a pizza, you probably unconsciously go, yeah, cheese, because it's the main one.
Yeah, we hate
He's
pie.
got a point. I'm sorry, but that with cheese, like I don't know if you had my podcast episode with the Bangers guys. Jimmy hates cheese,
Oh,
so you should listen to
good
it
lad.
because he
I do,
calls it
yeah,
what does he call it? He's like just the smell and even the word cheese. Fucking hate it. I fucking hate it. It's just mold.
Yeah,
Isn't it? It's just mold.
I watched the episode actually. I think I remember being like, yeah, finally someone's on my side with something.
I don't get it. I love it. Like if it wasn't so bad for you, I'd eat it for every single meal. But like it's so nice. There's brie. There's loads of good cheese out there that you're closing your
Yeah.
mind to.
See, I'm lactose intolerant, which sucks because I like cheese. I put cheese on everything if I could. I don't like blue cheese because that just takes it a step too far.
Yeah, it's an
But,
acquired taste.
It's mold.
Yeah.
Like if you took cheddar cheese out of the fridge and it had mold in it, you wouldn't eat it. But then you pay extra for moldy cheese and then eat it. I don't get it. But the pie thing, I think that's a hot take as a northerner. That's pretty brave to
It
come
is a
out
hot
on the
take.
internet and say you don't.
It's not for me. Like
All
if
of our
I
northern
eat,
fans unsubscribe now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fuck that.
Fuck
Bye.
that.
it's
This
just
kid.
like it's just not for me. I've given it many goes in my entire lifetime, and it's just like, you know what, I can do without that. If I eat something, it's most likely I like to go more like with Japanese food or like stuff like that. That's my stuff. That's my thing. Like with
Yeah,
like
I mean, it's good.
like British like pub grub and stuff like. I don't really like it because I think growing up that's what I'd mainly eat. So like I'm just sick of it. So I'm like, oh yeah, no. So when I do go out to eat or like that, I'll pick something where it's like, I never really ate that before. So I'll go there to try it. So if I make something for myself, it may like just like, oh, I'll make like a ramen or something like that. So I just like stuff like that. Like pie, it's just
I mean,
No.
intrinsically, pie is kind of boring. I get
oh
that. It's like it's not the most exciting thing. And like you said, Britain isn't like it's not one of those countries that when you think cuisine, people think, oh, England.
Yeah.
Fucking pies and vegetables. Brilliant. So no, I get that.
Yeah.
What would you
why
say
I was
like you miss the most about like UK? Like, you know, since you've been there, like is there anything like you particularly miss about living in the UK as part of the culture?
I mean, obviously my family, but apart from that, culture-wise, I miss fish and chips, like a ridiculous, and Jaffa cakes. They don't have they don't have Cadbury's or McVitie's over here. So like just proper snacks. Like I know it sounds ridiculous, but like when I went to London last time, I left half my suitcase empty to like take snacks back with me, and I did. I packed it full of like Pringles and Kit Kats and Jaffa cakes. So it's like
The
it's
essentials.
just it is, you know, and it's I'd say it's that really. It's just that like it's the food to be honest, but it's more of a nostalgia thing, like a childhood nostalgia thing. Because like fish and chips for me, there is nothing better with curry sauce on it. I'm a southerner. I'm sorry.
It's
curry
good.
sauce.
Yeah. Agreed.
Cool. Nothing better in my world. So and they have it here, like they have some sort of like pop-up British restaurants, but it's just not the same.
Yeah.
They like try and Scandinavian it with make it healthy, and it's like no, it's meant to be like if you can't wring the grease out of it, I don't want to eat it.
Exactly. It's got to have the grease.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like I think for me that weirdly that was like refreshing for me when I went to like Budapest with Brad, like because it's like to be fair, we went with our mate Dylan, who is the worst picky eater I've ever met in my entire life. It's like I flew in a fucking like plane. I want to try some of like the actual like local food, and he's like, "Do you want to go to Macca's?" It's like, no. It's like, but that's what I found so refreshing because like everything was like different. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll try that. It's like where a lot of times like here when I go out to eat, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm not in the mood for that. I'm not in the mood for that. I'm not in the mood for that. Because I like to try new things, and like I get bored of things really, really easily, especially food. Like if I eat the same thing over and over again, I won't eat it for like ages. Like I'll just get sick of it.
Yeah, I know. So you've got kids. I guarantee that they've got more culinary experience than our friend Dylan. Like, honestly, just to get him to try like even a bit of like goulash or just like try like a bread, just dip it in something. He's like, no. He gets like a
He can't even.
no,
No, but it's like he told us he's never even tried an egg. Because I got a Mackey's breakfast in the airport with it, and he goes, "What's egg like? I've never tried it." I'm like, "You've not even tried a fucking egg."
How old is this person?
Oh, he's older than me. I don't know if he's
I'm
older. Is he older than you, Brad?
Yeah, he's 26.
Yeah, he's 26.
Oh, I'm an old lady here. Oh,
How old are you?
I'm 30.
It's not bad.
Yeah. So he's never tried an egg, and he's in his mid-20s.
Well, not even mid. He's in his late.
Yeah, close.
I have to remind him of that as well.
Wow.
Yeah, no,
I
it was a nightmare. Like eating anyway, it's like we had to like it was almost it was like having a kid with us going, well, you know, schnitzel is like breaded chicken. That's just like KFC. You like that, don't you, Dylan? And it was just it's like that's the conversation we're having.
Yeah, then he was like, it tastes like a big
chicken.
chicken nugget. I'm like, yeah, that's what you wanted, right?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah, he's very much a creature of routine. Like the minute we touched down in Budapest, we went, do you want to look for like metal bars? Like around here, took us to this one bar. It was the worst bar I have ever been to. Not because it was like, because it was empty. We walked in and like the people behind the bar looked surprised that there were people there, and that's normally like the worst sign. Have you ever noticed that? Get the fuck out of there because there's a reason why no one's in there. And like, he like, yeah, it's a bit dead in here, isn't it? I'm like, yep. Because like we planned to go to the ruin bars and everything like that, and he like, no, we'll go here. And it's like just fucking like it was just so shit.
So we touched on the hobbies and interests earlier then. So what are yours then? What do you do in your spare time when you're not looking after kids, writing metal reviews and doing all that? What do you get up to?
I play drums. I have a drum kit here. I have like a little music. I'm going to call it a studio extremely loosely. It's got some soundproofing and a drum kit in it. So yeah. And I draw. I like to draw. It's very rare that I get time for that, but when I do, I like to sort of put some music on and like sit and draw. And I'm a massive God. I'm the oldest one here, and I'm gonna make myself sound even older. I love sitting and doing Sudoku. I'm like a numbers nerd. So I'll sit and do that for hours on end if I have the time for it. So yeah, that's the three main things other than music that I do.
It's nice to sort of like do something like Sudoku or draw in there, because obviously most of my spare time I'll just bang on Netflix and just like watch like, new Cobra Kai or something like that. But then I've kind of like recently just sort of like listened to like an audio book or just doing something where I'm not looking at a screen, because when I'm working, I'm on the computer because I do digital marketing. When I come back, I'm editing the podcast or I'm editing some like music videos that I filmed. So it's just like, I want to get something away from just looking at a screen and just like lay down, have a bath. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. That's that, it's just screens are fine, but I also, it's nice to just to zone out and do something else that's a little more sort of physical, like visceral, like something you can do with your hands,
Oh yeah, like I always like reading to decompress. But Brad was very shocked when I told him that, because he was like, "You read?" I was like, "Yeah."
I didn't even think he could read, to be honest. So I was like,
I was like, man got a C in English. Of course he can read.
What do you like to? What kind of books do you like to read?
Mainly historical ones. I don't like. I like fiction, but it depends on the subject. So like, if it's like Game of Thrones and like Lord of the Rings, that's my type of fiction that I like. I like really high fantasy. I don't like when people half-ass it. If people are like, yeah, it's kind of fantasy, but it's like realistic. It's like, no, all or nothing. But historical mainly. I like reading about just what like history in general, because I'm a bit of a history nerd. So I just enjoy reading about that really.
Cool.
Yeah, I just really enjoy it. It relaxes me.
I've got like a mini library, like I've got it all set up in like little sections and stuff here. So I've got like history and psychology, and then like like soft porn housewife books that everyone has to have, it's fun.
The essentials.
The essentials, and like crime and stuff. So yeah, reading's great for that.
Oh yeah. Like I read Operation Paperclip, and that got me into like a conspiracy theorist book like thing where it's like, okay, like, let's read into that. Enjoyed that, because like some of the shit that I found was like, it's like weird. Or like if I wasn't like reading a book on it about, okay, let's see like if I can find the weirdest conspiracy theory on Reddit, and like I found it, the moon's not real, and it's like so like it's just shit like that. I just like enjoy like just like either reading a book on like someone going kind of crazy, or like reading someone's post as well, being like going, okay, I don't think he thought this through before he clicked post. And it's like when you're reading it going, I don't know about that, G. Like, so yeah, that's what I like to do in my spare time.
Yeah, I got laughed at it, but I've actually been quite enjoying reading like Greek philosophy recently. Like some of the stuff that they touch on in there, like even like psychology wise, is quite interesting and does apply now. Say that it was like so fucking long ago. I'm just like, good point, that.
Oh yeah, it's like
it is.
Oh, go on.
No, I remember I did A-level philosophy, and just like reading that stuff, it's you can apply it to sort of every decade really. It's like timeless. It's incredible. It really is.
Like, I think a really good read as well is like Dante's Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso, and Paradise Lost. That's like the order I read them all in, and like some of like weirdly the philosophies in that, even though it's like based around religion, it's very like interesting, like the way of thinking and the justification. Because I'm agnostic, so I'm not flat out atheist. So I also kind of like reading about that stuff in general, going, so yeah, those are really interesting books. There's some stuff that hasn't aged well, but it was written in like what, the 1800s, so it's like it's not gonna. But there's some stuff where it's like a really interesting, like really thought-provoking sort of way of thinking about how like God would judge one person for doing this, but the same
Yeah.
act from a different person for another. There was just like so many like little like tiny things where it's like, oh, that's actually, and it caused you to really think about it. So
Yeah.
I'd recommend that to anyone.
I remember reading John Locke. Oh, what was the book he wrote? Oh, I forgot what it's called. The philosopher John Locke. I like his philosophies and the way I remember reading that, and that's something that stuck with me, even though I can't remember what the book's for. Fuck's sake, I did a book report on it and everything. Yeah, but yeah, philosophy is great. It's super interesting. It really is.
Absolutely. So I've got one more question for you before we call it. But yeah, it's been very fun talking to you. I want to ask your last question. Obviously, you've got the podcast. What would be your dream guest? If you could get anyone on like tomorrow, who would it be? And why?
The Duplantier brothers from Gojira, because I think, I've been fortunate enough to interview quite a lot of my favorite musicians, but they're still top of my list. I think Mario, in his own right, as a drummer and an artist, actually, just incredible. And seeing him live was just amazing. And then Joe, well, any of them from Gojira actually, but like the whole band, but Joe, just because, that like one of their albums they dedicated because their mum died, and just I'd like to ask them about like that. Like Magma was just like an ode to their mum, and I have like 1,000 questions for them.
Yeah, going back to what we said before about albums that really touch you, like that was definitely a deep one, Magma. And I don't like him. People sometimes give it shit. I'm like, bro, that is like such a thought-provoking album, and so interesting coming from Gojira. So yeah, brilliant.
And I get it, old school Gojira fans are like, what the fuck is this? And even I was like, this is weird. But then as soon as you learn the backstory and you listen to the lyrics, and it's like, oh, okay, they're going through grief. Obviously, there's some kind of changing happening, right? It's natural. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I think Gojira is one of those bands that will always kind of be timeless, because like they've never had a sound where you can just go, that's them. Like they're always changing. They're always like different to everyone else, and it's like that's I think that's why they're so big, and that's why people give them so much credit, because there's nothing really like them. There's a lot of copycats, but no one ever nails it just as they do it. Because I think there's just a lot of thought in there for them. Really,
they're just incredible musicians. So yeah, I'd love to interview them.
Yeah, brilliant choice. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been really nice chatting with you, meeting you for the first time. Touching on a few fun things. Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun. And it's my turn next time.
Yeah,
definitely.
We're ready. Can't wait for us to because we've never actually been interviewed, so it's going to be interesting to see how we deal with being asked questions.
Oh, yeah. See, I have questions, and I have like a game that I play. I don't know if you've listened, but I have a game that I play with my guests, and then we usually talk about some kind of psychological theory. There's like a theme to the episode, so yeah, it'll be fun.
No, I'm really excited for it. I'm really excited.
Oh yeah, definitely. I was saying to Brad, I was joking with Brad, going, what if like when we get asked questions, we just freeze up and what? Yeah, I was there like, I mean, obviously I don't think we will be, but we were there like, we've never been interviewed before. This is gonna be interesting.
I would be very interested. If you haven't listened to my podcast, listen. I have the same game that I play with all my guests, and there is one recurring question that I'll be very interested to hear your response to.
I'm excited. Yeah. I've listened to the Bangers and Mosh one, so I need to check out the other ones as well. So that'll be on my list.
Well, you've heard the questions I asked them in the game that I play.
Yeah, I've heard the flavored condoms question, if I'm allowed to say that. Yeah,
that's the one.
Yeah.
My latest episode was with my mum.
Oh my god, yes.
And I asked her that too. So yeah, you guys will be getting the same treatment.
Look forward to it. But yeah, thank you so much. If you're watching,
you.
check out the Motorheads podcast. It's really good. And yeah, we'll see you soon.